NRM had called the delegates conference.
In 2014.
Yes. And that's the year they removed Amama from Secretary General. So as I was coming back home, so people going to Nambole singing.
For the delegates conference.
Yes. But ordinary people did not understand what was going on.
What was going on?
So I come home. I normally sleep very early. 8:30 I go to bed. I go to bed, I toss in bed until 10. I couldn't sleep. I come down. I tried to watch TV. I couldn't. So I went to my studies on the other side. So I went and just started writing until about 4 or 5. And when I finished, I suddenly felt I'm going to sleep. So I slept. In the morning, I sent the article to Mwenda for his independent. But he did not publish. I think he feared the article.
Did he later publish it? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened? And then I sent to Observer. But it was so long. It was about 4,800 words. So the Observer published the first part.
And now, Mwenda read it.
When he saw, he had edited. It did not change much the content, but he changed my English. My English, what sentence can be long. So
he summarized it.
He didn't even summarize too much, but he cut off certain things. He published a soft copy. The Observer split it into 2 parts.
2 parts.
And one part was what I had coined as my law of cumulative error. I said that
the law of cumulative
error. So the dictator's error never go away; they only accumulate. But it is like weighing sugar in the dark. When you put a 5 kilogram stone and you're using this cup, the first 10, 15
down.
No, it will not. The first 10 cups will not shake this weighing scale. But as you go towards 5 kilos, you don't know how much more sugar to add.
Indeed.
Yeah. And then I ended by asking, because that was the month Kampahore was overthrown in Burkina Faso.
The same month in 2014.
Yes. It had just happened that week when I was writing it. So I said, who knew that
he would be overthrown?
And Kampahore had been in power for 14 years. I said, who knew that after 14 years
he would be overthrown
this month? And I said, African leaders must really learn. Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much, and we are here to go. Professor, once again, like I said, my name is Daniel Mugoya,
yes.
And I work with UBC TV. Today, I am so grateful that I'm going to be part of those people who are tapping into your knowledge.
Yes.
And of course, there's a saying that the wisest person doesn't know much until finds more to add on.
Yes.
Yeah, so I believe today I'll have to add on a lot from you.
No, it is my pleasure.
Thank you very much. And of course, from the political scene, you are among the very people who have been so instrumental and resourceful in this nation. And that's why I first want to understand your take on maybe how you see the politics today and how we've gotten here, right from the entire season of times that you've been in politics.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to chat with the country. Actually, most of the politics that people know and link to me is from the time I became leader of opposition. That is in 2001. But what people don't know is that during the fight against Idi Amin,
You were instrumental.
yes, I was in part of the group, but I was in Uganda. I was a student in Makerere, but I was part of that group that had Andrew Adimola, John Timber, and Ambrose Okulu, and others. And being a student, I could travel to Nairobi on those small missions, come back, and then go and link up with our people at home. And when liberation came, Kitgum, the greater Kitgum, the liberators found the greater Kitgum had already been liberated.
Which year are we talking about now?
That is 79.
79.
Yes.
Okay.
And at that time, when Amin fell, you needed to be in Kampala to appreciate the goodwill and hope that ordinary Ugandans presented. Meat prices were cut to like 7 shillings a kilo or something like that. Yeah, at that time. Everything, prices, all people cut down prices. But what went wrong after that is the struggle for political power, not the struggle for the people of Uganda. And that has been the problem.
Why did the prices run down? Doesn't this show that Amin was bad?
No. Yeah. It was more about the goodwill of the people of Uganda.
Oh.
They were prepared to sacrifice. They said, now we are free.
We are free.
Yes. And that is what happened. Now, after that, I didn't touch politics until 1996. And 1996, Father John Scalabrini,
yes, I know Father John.
Yes, who built this Bishop Cipriano Secondary School and the St. Benedict Hospital. Father John kept the family of my wife when their dad, who was a DP member of parliament, was killed, Gino Bonyo. In fact, 3 of my wife's sisters are in Italy. So, 96, one day, Father called me and said, Mario, Dr. Ssemogerere wants to meet you tomorrow.
Were you not shocked?
No, because Dr. Ssemogerere and my father-in-law were in the same politics. And during the CA process, I campaigned for a candidate in my place. I even summarized the new constitution and wrote Benchik Manyen Ngama Pigi Teko, that the draft constitution, what are the key things, in which I talked about the Land Act, the provisions on land. I said, giving land to people is going to cause development chaos. Because, and land, the state of Uganda is about the land. If you give it away to people, then there's no state. And you know the land crisis now all over Uganda. If the law remained like land belongs to the state, and then you can only use it. But maybe because of the greed that we have seen, we were lucky that land did not go to the state. Yeah. So, and I was involved. There were conflicts between because most of our delegates were opposition at that time. Tiberio Kane, Leandro Komakech, and these are people I knew a long time. They were
How many delegates originated from the north?
From Acholi, there were either 5 or around 5.
Wow.
Yes, including the current Chief Justice. Yes, Justice Alphonse Chigamoyo Winyidolo. And he was chair of the land subcommittee.
Wow.
Yeah, it is this subcommittee that brought in this customary tenure, which is what is in our place. So I was active at that level. And now when I came, I found Dr. Ssemogerere, Remy Kasud.
When you came for the meeting?
Yes. And father used to stay down in, his first home was down in Luzira, down near the Etal metallic, the guys who do fabricate windows and doors, just down there. And 4 others. And when I came, and Ssemogerere said, "My son, I am going to contest for the presidency, and I want you to come and help me." I mean, if somebody now talks to you and calls you
someone of
his stature, I just said, "It's fine."
Of course, there was no room for refusal.
Yes. So that is how I immediately went into the Ssemogerere campaign. And it is a whole story. That was an amazing campaign. So I was in charge of security. And even at that time, I was already senior lecturer. But you can imagine that.
Did you try to ask him why he chose you out of the...
No, there was no need. There was and I could not. There was no need, because when
maybe at a later time.
No, I think maybe this is the way I grew up. Because sometimes when my dad would send me to represent him over and above my elder brothers, and I've never asked why. My understanding is that the reason must be valid and good. So we were there. Maria Mutagamba, she was in charge of the campaign. Sevagala, Aji Sevagala.
The late.
Yes. Can you imagine? The only person who had a mobile phone that time
was Haj.
In that group was Haj.
Oh.
Yes, Airtel had just come.
Celltel.
Yeah, it was called Celltel.
Yeah, Celltel.
Yes. And we didn't. I ran beside Ssemogerere's car from Kabusu to Kololo for Ssemogerere's nomination.
Wow.
And I was a senior lecturer.
I can imagine how energetic you are.
Oh, yeah. I am, even now, I'm still... But the important thing is that that was not about me. It was about a cause. And I took it up. I actually stood.
Voluntarily?
Yes. And then I went for elections in 96. And unfortunately, that election we contested with Owinidolo.
Wow.
Yes.
That's now after the CA.
Yes. Yes, but at that time he came to the CA as a UPC, but he's now close to NRM.
Oh.
Yes, he was a minister even. So, that campaign was difficult. And it was a joint campaign where we are only two candidates. You sit, your colleague starts today or you start, and people are watching all of you, and people up to now, everybody remembers. Because
so the elections you went into, that was movement system?
Yes. So then Tito dies, General Tito Kelo dies, and his burial was in Namukora. Namukora from my place, Kalongo. You see that picture, that is the mountain, that is Kalongo Mountain. Yes, and Namukora is behind the other bigger one. So we go for the burial. I was the one who went translated
to the
to the public. Now that is the kind of thing that builds a country, where competence is recognized and is not shunned away on account of where you belong in politics. And when after that, and I'd put so much pressure on now Chief Justice, they had to arrange for Kintu Musoke to come to Kalong, my place, and address a rally there.
Hey.
Yes.
Who did the organization?
No, he didn't even come back to Kampala.
Are you sure?
Yes, from the funeral, he comes. And then when he came, he said, you know, we have this cow which has a lot of milk, but you have to send somebody who the cow knows, otherwise you will not get any milk. And then I told, in the rallies, I told people, I said, you guys, we keep cattle. Agago is the place in Acholi which is the traditional cattle place. In the 60s, the total cattle population in Agago was bigger than the rest of Acholi combined. So we grew up with cattle. And it allowed us to go to some of the best schools in the country because we could afford. Just sell one bull.
Then you pay
you pay school fees. I said, you people, we all keep cattle. If I go to see my uncle, my uncle's wife, and my uncle is not home, my uncle's wife will not milk. Women don't milk cows in our place. I said, it will be me to milk, even when I have not milked the animals before. But what I will do is I come and check, and being a good cattle boy, I'll know that this animal behaves like this. And I'll milk the cows. But I lost that election.
To Owinidolo?
Yes.
Oh.
Of course, certain things happen. I don't want to cloud his victory. Yeah, and people were very surprised because we had taken lots of wine, Italian wine. One of my sisters-in-law, there used to be an Italian supermarket along Bombo Road.
So you shopped some?
Yes. And on my way back in Patong, where Owinidolo came from, I gathered my supporters. I brought them lots of wine. And then people said, but you are not worried. I said, no, I did not lose. It is people who lost.
Not you.
No, me, I'm just going to go back to my... And I came back to Makerere.
To continue with your lecturing.
At that time when I was going, everybody did not want me to go. But they still wished me well. Because I was a very good academician. I had many undergraduate students whom I was training. So they were so hurt that I lost, but so happy that I came back.
That's the Makerere people.
Yes. Now in 2001, they said, now when you are going, we are not complaining. Can you imagine that time my graduate students collected 6 million.
Oh, financial support.
Yeah, in 2000, 6 million was a lot of money.
This was a lot of money.
Yes, they collected 6 million. And when I won that election, I came to Makerere and people were so happy. And that year, even the Vice Chancellor gave a commendation for distinguished service to Makerere. Then I plunged into politics. We started SDP, but what we had problems, the second Ssemogerere campaign of DP was now split. Bwenje also stood. Ssemogerere stood. And some people who were originally close to Ssemogerere, like Zachary Olum, moved on the Bwenje side. When elections ended, DP was literally a split party. I was in parliament. We had a DP parliamentary caucus with the Odongo Tos, the Norbert Maus. But I took the trouble. And I negotiated an agreement between the Bwenje group and the Ssemogerere group. And that's when I first interacted very closely with Lukwago, now mayor of Kampala, and Robert Kitariko was a very senior DP. And some of the things I used to do, it's like funny because we were negotiating behind Christ the King. There were not many buildings then. But when I would find that there were no agreements, I'll break the meeting off and said, let's go and have a drink.
Did you try to find out what caused the confusion and that split?
No, yes, I understood. It was again ego. You see, this is the biggest problem with Ugandan politics. Everyone is preoccupied with his own ego, instead of being preoccupied
with the ideology.
With the challenges that our country face. This ideology is even very primary thing. The more important thing is, what do you want to do for your country?
For the people.
Yes. If you go to Singapore, there was no ideology. Except what Lee Kuan Yew's son said when he at the burial of his father. He said that for his father, the issue of Malaysia was about us all. And that's how he acted.
So
from that,
according to you, who was showing a lot of ego between Ssemogerere and the Bwenje?
Bwenje, but also people around Ssemogerere. Because what happened was, when I crafted an agreement, to preempt the agreement being a signed document, they called a meeting in Sharing Hall. And it was Zachary who called me and said, Professor Tikwene, where are you? I said, I am in office. And he said, we are meeting here. We are in a meeting here in sharing all. The Ssemogerere group have now agreed to a unity. I immediately knew that they were avoiding signing my document. I told Zachary, I said, from today, I'm no longer in DP. And that's how I left DP, by the way. I even wrote an article in the papers about it. Yes.
What was his response when you told him that maybe?
He taught me, Zachary taught me in Makerere. And he knows how I am.
So, Professor, did you have a card to show that you were a member of DP by then?
No, because parties were not, we were DPs under movement system. The party thing came only when the multi-party system was restored. Yes. But we used to go and meet in that building near
Christ the King.
No. Near the Anglican building.
Near Church House.
Yes.
Oh, that is the City House.
Yes, it would go to
Nakasero.
No, it would. Yes, Nakasero, and down there to the Cooperative Bank.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where we used to meet. I had many associates in DP. Ojok Mulozi was even MP of Kampala East, but he was Anacholi, Robert Kitariko, so many others. So that's how, after that, I floated until 2005. Because when we came, we formed the PAFO now. Parliamentary Advocacy Forum.
Yes.
And that brought together we who came as opposition members of parliament. And even NRMs.
That is 20?
PAFO was 2012.
2001, 2002.
Yes. And then
you were still under the movement system, but opposition members of parliament.
No, then the movement system was removed. Yes, and then we said, what do we do? And then we decided then to form FDC. And in forming FDC, again it was not about anybody. It was not about Besigye. Because Besigye was in exile in South Africa. But it was about Uganda.
Are you talking about FDC or Reform Agenda?
No. Reform was the vehicle that Besigye used in 2001 for his election.
For his election.
Yes, and then he ran into exile.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So the group that campaigned with Ssemogerere, the Nandala Mafawis, the Regan Okumus, were Reform Agenda.
Okay.
They came as that group.
Then
Chapa Karwanga, no, because PAFO now could not come as PAFO because it was not a legal entity.
Oh.
Yes. Chapa Karwanga came as
Road.
Yes. Came with his group because he also contested. And then DP, and then UPC, KY and Kenlu Chamuzi, they did not join. And then elements from NRM, Augustine Ruzindana. Muntu came later after he was elected to the Pan-African Parliament. So this group, the Katigayas, even attended our meetings. There's a place behind Steel and Tube. There used to be a kind of a hall behind Steel and Tube. That is where the
meeting sat.
Yes, that is where, at that meeting is when they formed the Sam Juba, they formed the Constitutional Committee. The Pulukol, even David Pulukol was there. A Constitutional Committee, and me, Njuba, Ben Wacha, Ukule Park, Pulukol, we were that committee that crafted the FDC slogan, One Uganda, One People.
Mm.
And even chose the key as the symbol and the flag.
Mm.
And we brought it back to the meeting. The meeting endorsed it. It became part. Then me, Salam, and Sam Juba were elected as deputy presidents. And Sam and Salam was made to act because we at that time also elected Keza Besigye as the president, interim president. But Salam Jumba, Salam Sumba was acting.
Oh.
Yes. And because our organization was so strong and we had contacts, I had lots of contact with the Western countries. We got lots of money. Can you imagine we flew more than 100 National Council members to South Africa?
To benchmark?
No. Our first National Council of FDC.
It was in South Africa?
Yes, it was in Stellenbosch. And at that time...
Courtesy of international funding?
Yes. And at that time, there was no interference. And again, I should remind people that the Ssemogerere campaign of '96 was when the Electoral Commission was a Ugandan Electoral Commission. Yes.
So we have never had...
From the Akaba Electoral Commission, we have never had a truly Ugandan Electoral Commission. Akabai never stole votes. What tragically happened with the Ssemogerere vote was that Cecilia Ogwal was tricked into flying to Nairobi that Obote wanted to meet her. But it was, I think, a trick from...
It was a trap or a trick?
Yes. So when Cecilia Ogwal went to Nairobi, there was no Obote. Coming to Entebbe, they stopped her.
Oh.
Yeah, they blocked her. And they had arranged for TV to capture. And then they put on news that Cecilia Ogwal had met Obote, and Obote was in Busia. So the Buganda vote just flipped from Ssemogerere like that.
Sorry. So that was something to do with propaganda.
Yes. And so I got in charge of the platform committee because we needed to have an agenda to sell to the country. And my members were Sir Richard Kaijuka, David Pulukol, Dr. Suleiman Chigundu, Yona Kanyumozi, and one or two others. We did a wonderful platform.
So FDC comes into existence.
Yes.
You come to 2005.
Yes.
Multi-party system is restored.
Yes, and once we got formed, we said, let us bring back Dr. Besigye. And that is when I started noticing a problem. Yeah, because me and Salam and Sam Juba, we were supposed to go and meet Besigye in Nairobi and come with him. Now, traveling to Nairobi, they left me out.
How?
Yeah, they just left me out. Then I realized...
Technically?
No. The next thing I had was, the people who are going to Nairobi have already gone. Then I knew there was a problem. And that is the start of my realizing that, yes, I'm here, but they're not going to look at what I can do for the party. They're going to look at me, the person. and then begin to think I'm a threat to Dr. Besigye. And gradually, that is how, well, me and Alice Alaso, we received Dr. Besigye in Entebbe.
In Entebbe airport.
Yes, plus those guys who left me and went to receive him in Nairobi.
Were they not shocked?
No, those things are too small for me. Basically, for me, my focus is more. My focus is more on what needs to be done. It's not about me. Yeah. So that is the challenge we face.
Okay.
And you know, a party. You saw the campaigns.
That is 2006.
Yes. You saw the support that people showed. But eventually, I also did realize that in the campaign, the focus was not on the agenda of the party.
The focus was on Dr. Besigye.
The focus became Dr. Besigye. And with that focus, Dr. Besigye helped derail a party that people had so much faith in. Because when he served his 2 terms, and we said, you serve 2 terms.
Can someone else lead?
Yes. Getting Muntu elected was a big problem. And Muntu served just 1 term, and then Dr. Besigye brings a Muriat. Unfortunately, Muriat, whom he brought at that time, had lost his parliamentary election. You can lose a parliamentary election
and then you come
and become a party leader. But his fight was Muntu. And they maneuvered. And
so you people wanted the General Mugisha Muntu to continue for at least another term?
Yeah, because the provision is two terms. I served 2 terms as deputy president, and I never sought any position again. And you could see the Nandala Mafabis, and they're fine. But like I said, I know Nandala Mafabi, I know where his focus is. And in the end, there was only one road for FDC. It's downhill. It reached where the very people who were close to him, to Dr. Besigye, became the opponents he had to fight. Until they threw them out of
FDC.
Can you imagine the party chairman climbing the wall?
I remember. So there's a time during your departure,
Yes.
leaving FDC. That's when I also started following you, because you said this party is stinking. What was the cause? Where was the problem? What would
the internal fight? The internal fight in FDC was not about FDC. It was about self-interest. You don't fight your personal interest in a framework of an organization that is supposed to coalesce our interests and fight for national interests, which is occupying the leadership seats, the governance seats, and delivering to the expectations of the people. If FDC won, it would not matter if I was not appointed minister. Whatever responsibility that I would be assigned, I'll do my best to ensure that we deliver. Because that's what I know. I'm a farmer. You cannot cheat farming. You cannot talk sweet things and you harvest. You will never harvest. You must do the right things, then you get a good harvest.
You can't do something bad and then you expect good
No.
results.
And that is the challenge. Now, these other small parties, they are merely sentiments. And there are people who hold certain sentiments very dear. Ken Luchamu's is Conservative Party is about the old Buganda Kabaka Yeka sentiment. And you know it. And you don't dispute it, you let it be. Now the problem also found its way itself in the UPC. It was about Obote, and the successor to Obote was Jimmy Akena, his son. And Jimmy Akena would say, it is my father who built UPC. This is my father who built Uganda House. And there were big, the fights that ended up in court, etc. Yeah. That was not about Uganda. It was about the individuals in that party.
So you were a leader in FDC.
Yes.
Did you take time to sit down?
Oh yes. In many meetings, I would counsel them. I would tell them, you people, we are doing a wrong thing. We are focusing on ourselves. This is not helpful. Because as a scientist, I know the physical principles of energy. If you use your energy for fighting, you'll never use your energy for production.
Because you have already used all the
it is not
energy,
possible. So I keep telling them, you guys, you're wasting your energy on wrong things. But they didn't understand.
There is bringing power someone who had lost an election, but putting that aside, did he deliver? Or is he delivering?
I should be asking you. You are the guys. If he delivered, they would still be with Besigye. But FDC is splitting under with power as the party president.
Professor, this is interesting. But now, as we jump this conversation, what could be the core principles of democracy that we are missing out in Uganda?
Actually, part of this, while I've described what is going on in the opposition, we must, while what I've described is about the opposition. The other side to this story is the NRM under President Museveni. That the opposition is still breathing is almost an act of God even. Because the suppression that the people go through, you go to rallies, you go on radio, they'll switch off your broadcast. You see recently Bobby Wine doing his
campaigns.
Not even campaign tour. And it was blocked once the crowd started getting too big. And like I said this morning on another TV, the reason why I'm not in parliament is not because my people didn't vote for me. They sent particularly some fellow from Navy. Specifically as returning.
They sponsored the person?
No, as returning officer of Agago. And all three of us, me, Franca, Mahmoud, we lost. That guy had, at some stage even...
They came on a mission?
Yeah, they came just to make sure we were rigged out. And that's what happened. 2011, I was rigged out. But, these things don't bother me. It's a huge relief. In fact, all this, you see, I had to buy new clothing because the old ones couldn't fit. Because it's just a relief. I mean, I'm only trying to help my people and the country. If that burden that I know if I don't do, God is watching me. If that burden is lifted by somebody, I have a huge relief that I can now be free to do my things, or just to sit and relax.
Okay, that's very good. So you're talking about the suppression of the NRM.
Yes, and then and because in real multi-party systems, where parties like in Kenya are free to operate, or in Ghana, where incumbents lose, the parties in the country all have a right to speak. And the opposition would get up and go to the population and speak about what the incumbent NRM party and its president has done. And they will point to so many failures. And all you need to do is travel the country. For a country as endowed as Uganda, with good governance, clear focus, would be far ahead of all other countries in East Africa. But now, even Rwanda
is ahead of
beats us hands down. A country that went through genocide. Tanzania used to be the sleeping giant of East Africa. It is no longer. Magufuli came, just one man, with clear head, with no self-interest, and completely changed Tanzania. Kibaki, when he was elected and they worked with Odinga for a while, did huge work in Kenya. Because state power used properly can deliver incredible things. But you go to, I had not been to the Eastern Route. I'm on the Uganda Best Farmers Competition. And you travel the countryside, you see poverty. You travel in Kampala, you see how many youthful souls and life and potential are tied on borders. Each of those, if they were made to be productive elsewhere, the amount of wealth they would generate for themselves and for the country would be incredible. And then go and see the roads, the rural roads, man.
So, Professor, do you think it's a matter of priority, or these people are just neglecting service delivery?
No, I think, you see, once you allow, for example, corruption to pervade governance, and unfortunately that corruption has sunk to the district and even sub-counties, then you become a predatory society, survival of the fittest. And that's what you see. Government programs will be opportunity to eat. Even PDM, they've arrested so many people. And then secondly, there's no national program. Countries agree to a national program, not crafted solely by one party, but crafted by the people. In 1997, I was the agricultural sector expert in the Uganda Vision 2025. We crafted a vision for this country that if that vision was implemented and faithfully implemented, there would have been completely a different story about Uganda. Now, when the Vision 2040 was being crafted, even us, who were in the Uganda Vision 2025, nobody ever called me to say, Professor, you were in this, and we are doing this.
Can you come and help us?
Nothing. Now, how can continuity, a country live without continuity? Because a country is like building a storied building. The foundation plays its role, but that will not seek to become
the rooftop.
No. And will play that role faithfully. But here you ask yourself, where's the foundation? Where are the walls? Where are the stairs?
Where are the beams?
It's not there. But you claim you're building.
Do you take into consideration the legal framework? Because since the 1995 Constitution, most of the powers were given to the president, appointing authority, like appointing most of these the heads of...
You see, regardless of the legal framework, ultimately it is the president who decides on those appointments. If you decide that, no, I know Latigo is good, let him be a member of the board of Bank of Uganda. When Latigo goes to Bank of Uganda and anybody steals money, you know Latigo is going to choke that guy to death. But whom do you appoint? You appoint somebody because, oh, he comes from here.
He's a comrade, we worked together.
He did this. In the end, the people
who appointments are not on merit.
In the end, even when they are competent, they also don't have any fear of you.
They say, that's my friend, I know him.
So they will do their things. And that's the crisis we face. Yes.
So who are we to blame mostly?
I don't like to blame. I like to point out that fact that, like they said, I'll get the buck stops here. So for any country, the buck stops with the president. He can blame the people he has put to govern, but the buck stops with him.
In your reign as the leader of opposition, did you try to speak out some of these inconsistencies?
Oh, yes. One of my 2019 statement in reply. And by the way, I was told that after my first statement of reply to the President's State of the Nation address, subsequently, when I'm making my statement, I was told the President actually watches. I mean, would watch. Because he realized that I'll break down his statement.
His address.
Point out the issues of concern.
And the areas of dissent.
Yes, and I would even make suggestion. For example, in that statement, in the 2019 statement, when they had the big, he talked expansively about roadworks. And I said, it is good that we are undertaking these enormous roadworks. But the challenge we are going to face is that because we would have built so many roads at the same time, they will also deteriorate at the same time. And management will be a problem. And that's the crisis we now face. Every road in Kampala is broken down.
Why did you do that? Did you cite, were you a prophet of doom?
No, because I apply my logic and intellect to these things. I'm not passionate about it. It is my duty to speak.
But the roads were the development.
Oh yes, but you know, at that time, all the money, there was no money for agriculture. And I said, instead of just focusing on one thing and saying, and you know, the president would talk of doing one thing first and then doing another one. And one time I said, you know, you cannot eat your matoke and then hope to eat vitamin another day.
You have to have a balanced diet.
Oh, yes. And because the diet is not balanced, even when you have eaten, it will not help the body. And that's the chaos now you see. Agriculture is in chaos. Education is in chaos. It's some people don't know. I mean, when I went to Senior 1 in 1968 in Socio-economic. Going the first time, first term, that is the only time my dad paid for transport. Because after that, even up to a means time, every secondary school student is entitled to bus and train warrant.
Hey.
Yeah, you don't pay travel. Whether,
every secondary
yes, every
school
secondary.
student.
So at the end of the term, the school will issue you with, where are you traveling to? Oh, I'm coming from Kampala, Gulu by train, and then by bus to Kitgum.
They offer you.
So they issue you train warrant, bus warrant.
Freely.
You travel free. A-level students would get allowance, money. And that was the education that brought us from our villages to become professors and national leaders. Now, the brightest child in the village will never get good education. Because the good education are in private schools in Kampala, even locally in Gulu or in Kalong. The private schools are probably in Kalong maybe 400,000 a term. For the villager, there's a lot of money they can't afford. The cattle were taken by the Koromojongs. They try to grow rice. I'm a rice farmer. And this year, while we grow rice, they brought rice from Tanzania. It killed the rice prices. We all lost. So, until what the government does is about the people, measured by that individual thing, the government in the end will face failure.
Don't you think the government tries its part, like maybe the implementation here, the people
No,
who
you
ground?
cannot talk of it. Who are the beneficiaries to implement? That is why you are government. As a government, you create a policy, you allocate funds, and you implement the program and account to the people. And that is how it should be. Yes.
So, Professor, just running very fast.
Yes.
Looking at how you've talked about the core principles of democracy, you've talked about the implementation.
Yes.
But now, how have these bad practices of democracy affected accountability?
The worst effect has been on the people.
The people.
Yes. People gave up on leaders. That is why anybody can get elected. They said, at least we have eaten.
Let's take this one.
Yeah. But in other countries, people will put you to account. The worst effect has been on the people. And then it moves to leaders, whether elected or not. They all now act in impunity because they know there's no threat from the people. And in the end,
the people are tired.
Yeah, people just said, but at least I've tested. So these guys go in the villages, they're giving MPs money. I mean, people.
People money.
Yeah, in my place there, I'm hearing the current MP, who was a beneficiary of two riggings against me. 2011, the Mama Mbabazi, and the wife actually camped in Agago. And then this one, where this returning officer from Navy. Now, this guy who is a beneficiary now is so scared because he had, in his recklessness, he had said strong words against NRM, and they've turned against him, the people up. And he knows without rigging he can't win. So he can go to, these guys go to funerals of children. In our place, you don't go to a funeral of somebody you don't know. If you come, they watch carefully your background because people who come for such funerals come to eat. But there are some people who see gatherings like that as an opportunity
to preach
to bewitch. Yeah, that is the
mentality.
Or even to poison. So people will be very careful. You will not even share food with others.
Strangers.
Yeah. So, but these guys go to funerals of children. If they don't go, the honorable has sent 50,000
for purpose of visibility.
Yes. Now, and because people accept that as the best that they can get from their leaders, they will not ask for why our roads why our roads bad. They will not ask.
You have already taken your share.
And in the process, our country stagnates and even deteriorates. And some of us who see it and who know what is happening elsewhere, it pains.
What is the best way to measure our democracy?
Measure for what?
Because it looks like we might not even understand whether we are
because
in democracy.
we are not talking. We are not in a democracy as known
as per se
in the West or no. And we've reached where we don't even need a democracy of political contestation because the road ahead is too rough. So what we need is a democracy of consensus. Disregard the parties that exist and sit down as a family and say, what is the situation and how do we move from here? And that's why in many forums, I've always appealed to the president, to President Museveni, to find time and reflect on the need to bring Ugandans together so that they talk. If we can do that, in that talk we can agree that let us go and contest, but even if we contest, since I'm getting old, let us form a government of national unity and see how we can move the country. Because that is the only thing that will allow a fresh opportunity for democracy to exist and work in the country. It also will be the only opportunity to bring down the deep discontent, anger, and even hatred that now pervades our country all over. I had a long altercation with a lady from Bushenyi. And another guy even talked about him as Mchwezi.
No, I've seen it somewhere. But now,
And I
Professor,
said I am a Luo and Bito. And you know what what they did to Baswejis. So
I know. That is of the past now.
yeah.
But now, Professor, we've talked of ego and hatred,
Yes.
which have been
Yeah.
building ever
Yeah.
since.
Yeah.
Now, when you bring the democracy of consensus with a lot of ego and how people view
No.
things.
Once a democracy of consensus will set a national agenda and apportion responsibilities and demand accountability. That is what governance is about. That you set an agenda, you apportion responsibility, you implement and account.
Looking at the current political environment, do you see such a move anywhere near to being achieved?
I was told that there was an IPOD meeting yesterday. But you know, IPOD has its own challenges because the DP led by Norbert Mao is already part of NRM government.
Yeah.
Even the UPC under Jim McKenna, the wife is part
Is
of
also-
NRM.
They
Yes.
also have a standing agreement.
So, and I don't know if they have a standing agreement because if they had a standing agreement, they would not sit in opposition. They ought to sit on the government side. Yeah. Because the alliance takes away your right to be an opposition.
Immediately.
Yes. So all these things, like somebody said, is fake. Yeah. So that is the challenge. But in the end, we don't have any option.
So we've seen these pressure groups which have just emerged of recently. Now, okay, even before the pressure group of Honorable Mpuga, and when Honorable Norbert Mao signed the cooperation agreement with NRM, of course, his agenda was transition and dialogue. And we've also witnessed President Museveni on several occasions speaking about dialogue. Now, of recent, Honorable Mpuga says we can now sit with the NRM and maybe talk something about transition. So, are we getting to the democracy of consensus?
But Honorable Mpuga sits as who? As an individual?
As a coordinator of Democratic Alliance.
But what is Democratic Alliance? Is it civil society? Is it a political organization?
So are you questioning the legality of the
No, I am not legality, the status. What is it? Because I watched Mabike. He was asked that. And he was saying, oh, we are civil society, we are this. Now, if Mabike says that, civil society doesn't sit on the same table with political parties because they don't belong.
Did he really say they are civil
society?
Oh,
yes. And they said, but we will eventually let them form themselves into a political party. Then they will have the legitimacy to speak with other political parties. But until they do that, the claim that you go to dialogue is too presumptuous. Because dialogue with who? DP will say, but who are you? You're not a political party. Why are we not dialoguing with all these civil societies who in the country? Why do you think we should talk with you?
Who are you?
Yes. So let Mpuga register a political party. Then we see who he is and who they are and what they represent. Then talking with that person becomes easy.
So away from the status of the group,
yes,
but what he has on the table is good for the country.
I've said things about Mpuga before, so I don't want to
repeat yourself.
dwell on him because like I said, the formation of, because you cannot talk of alliance when you form because you are fighting no, you are angry with no. So ally with who? With NRM? Why don't you just join NRM?
When I heard him very well, he quoted that his alliance will be strictly with those active political parties. So literally meaning that most of the parties
But
are not active.
Is he active? Outside that meeting, has that alliance been anywhere? Outside that lounge? Did that alliance only meeting in Masaka, for example?
Never.
So, if you are talking about active parties and you have not even acted once, don't you think you are just thinking you can fool the country? Or you don't even know what you are doing?
So how best can this democratic consensus be created and the process now?
People will fight for space. You know, you didn't grow up in the village.
I was there.
No, in our times, the village roads during the rainy season and the grass is grown, the grass will come and literally cover the road. And you have to walk, sometimes bending. Now the dog you would eat with a stone and that dog would run. If you meet it on that road, walking in the opposite side, that dog will not leave you the road. It is you.
It is you who will leave the road.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, people will.
So once the dew has brought the grass so tightly that these dogs you are just throwing stones at, have nowhere to walk without getting wet. The dogs will come for you and you leave them the road.
So in your own opinion, is dialoguing with President Museveni a true cause?
Yes, it's about the necessity to generate a peaceful transition from President Museveni. 40 years are too long. When he started, there were no mobile phones. Now people are talking of so many other technologies have changed. We are talking of synthetic biology. We're talking of what? That is a long time.
When you're talking of artificial intelligence.
Yes. Will the president understand that? Will he stop that?
No.
These guys you guys have your own ways of talking. Even when you sit with us like this, you talk, you are doing your things, you are talking things we will never know, but you'll know amongst yourselves. And these young people all over. This thing connects all of them. And then you have a person like Bobby Wine, who is very attractive to young people. And that's a fact you cannot deny.
But now, Professor, of course, we accept, if we are to accept that dialoguing with the ruling party is a good cause. But why would we even wait for the dialogue? Why, if the other side also is thinking about the country, why don't they just give up to someone who can?
You see, to come and interview me, I must open my gate for you to enter.
So you take it to the
if you climb, where will you climb? If you try to climb from somebody's home, they will.
That is trespass.
Yes.
So is the country the home to those?
The key to the gate is with President Museveni. And if you try to climb from the wall, you'll be arrested.
If all goes like this,
Yeah,
where do we see ourselves?
chaos. Iraq, Somalia, DR Congo.
Mm.
And I wrote in that other article, political succession.
Mm.
The end is the same for everybody who doesn't listen, and
So we must look for the person who has the key.
that is because I know it as a fact.
Mm.
I don't fear any time I have an opportunity telling the president that the key is in your hands.
Mm.
You're the one who can save us from chaos.
Mm.
And in that process, leave a legacy that people will respect.
There are those who are saying that however much these other political players may want to dialogue with him, but his agenda is also a bit different. He still wants to hold the key.
That's okay. But the one key that he doesn't hold is the key of aging. God holds that one. And the key of exit, God holds it.
So at least we must be...
You must be conscious of that reality.
Mm.
Even if you pretend like what?
Mm.
If God opens the key of exit, you will exit. And you must worry about what you leave behind.
Mm.
One time the president said, I don't care about legacy, but he does. And Mr. President, you should care. Because in the end, what remains is what is important. It's not what happens all these years. I mean, used to be, he would even let the British carry him like a king. But kept on doing wrong things. The country declined. He garnered the opposition of the whole country and Tanzania, and he was chased. He died like a rat in Saudi Arabia. Yes. And these are just facts. And we must deal with them. They're tough. But we must deal with them.
Is it a bad precedent that was set? Or because when I look at those people who would love to dialogue with the president, the perception in the public is different. People think maybe these have been bought. They are
Look, I can tell you, I can tell you, I engage with the president a lot. Not in the media. I've engaged with him on many issues. On the Amoro land, we sat one-on-one. I wrote to him. On things on agriculture, I wrote to him. The president sent me to Malaysia with Frank Tumwebaze in 2012. I prepared a report for him, gave him. Because it is not about me. It is about this country. And if this is what needs to be done for the country, I will do it. And if all of us were to take politics like that, even these conflicts amongst parties, the many parties that we have, they will not arise. Yes.
So, Professor, yes, as we wind up, are we democratically backsliding?
I don't know whether we have ever been democratic to backslide. We've just been pretenders to democracy. Because the only time that Uganda was democratic was at independence. But even at independence, by the way, the British did not want Catholics to take over this country. And they even tried to... I remember in our own place, how the Muzungu who was collecting ballot boxes, people had to drive following the guy to make sure he did not shift the ballot. And at that time, The UPC candidate was Ssemogerere. He's the one who contested with my father-in-law, Gino Bonyo. And Ssemogerere, by his stature, was far ahead of Gino Bonyo. Gino Bonyo was a primary school teacher. Ssemogerere and Mwai Kibaki were the two, President Mwai Kibaki of Kenya. They were the first two Africans to lecture economics in Makerere.
Oh.
Yes. But he lost because the framework of the politics then was religious, and Agago is 80% Catholic.
Professor, the time you've been in the political scene, what is your view on the politicians who are double-sided? They eat from the opposition, they eat from the ruling party. What's your view? Because this has
That is who they are. That is who they are. And unfortunately, time will betray them. Because you cannot eat and hide. In the end, you will be found.
Have you ever witnessed some?
I know some. But it doesn't surprise me. Because there's too much deceit in Ugandan politics.
Because there are those who say that most of the politicians are aiming for positions but not fronting the country.
Yeah, I don't want to say most because I don't have a study of that. But too many. Normally, those should be fringe elements whose influence can be addressed. But like I told you, I don't want to blame politicians now. I blame the challenge is the local population. They gave up holding politicians to account. Let me tell you, when you have soldiers who get out of the barracks and go and beat people and they come back in the barracks and nothing happens. If you shift where in the morning you have to check whether your shoes have been brushed, whether you have trimmed your hair, whether your uniform is clean. And when you get out of the barracks, you must explain why you got out. And anybody in breach is punished. That army will be very disciplined. And when it comes to war, that army of internal discipline will be far more effective than a huge army of internal freedom. And that's the challenge of our politics. And it's not going to get any better when you see a thug and a fraudster like Trump becoming president of America. So it's a worldwide crisis. So I'm beginning to see that while I used to worry about Uganda only, I'm beginning to see a situation where the current world system may collapse. And we either end up in another world war before the world revives itself.
So, Professor, finally, when you look at the current trends, the opposition is divided and we are 1 year to head into elections. Don't you see the NRM still taking over?
Let me ask, in this 1 year to the election, where do you see NRM? Do you see NRM anywhere?
Professor, are you not seeing NRM?
Where? What are they doing?
So is the opposition on ground?
No. The opposition and NRM are the same. politics in this country is about President Museveni. Even the NRM, they have all folded their hands waiting for what the president will ask. I have not seen a single NRM rally anywhere called by a local official to explain to their communities what the NRM government has done for them since the last election. Unfortunately, you will not see it because there was nothing done.
We've seen the office of the Prime Minister holding barazas, what?
That is, you see,
Manifesto week.
that is the government of Uganda. You see, that is the problem with us. We mix governance with politics. Politics is only a vehicle to come and govern. And once you have that seat, governance seat, govern.
So governance is nowhere.
Your politics will be when you go back and show people what you have done. And it will become very easy for people to say, these guys have done well, let them go back and continue. But what is likely to happen is that this coming election, there will be too much violence. Unfortunately, we have too many youth who are prepared to risk their lives. And that is where, as a country, we must worry and genuinely say this possibility must not occur.
So even the increasing pressure groups, I believe the voter turnout might also increase.
No. The issue of voter turnout will only be judged by how the campaigns go. Because many people, once they see that the campaign is about violence and suppression, they'll just say, why should I waste my time going to vote? But if it is about hope, then voter turnout will go up. But hope is a very difficult person to find in Uganda.
During your time when you are very active in the FDC, what really stopped the unity and fronting of a single candidate as the opposition? That question has still remained hanging.
Too many times we had the other parties supporting our candidate. I think in at least 2 elections, even the 96 elections. But of course, you have you have somebody like Abed Bwanika. That is a lone wolf. When wolves know that when you hunt in groups, you will quickly kill. For Abed Bwanika, he would rather come and eat the bones that a group have killed, and he will live his own life.
So we have people like the Abed.
Oh yes, yes.
And they have occupied the space.
Uganda is a very interesting country.
Thank you very much, Professor, for this insightful knowledge that you've given us, and we hope that we shall have you more and more when time comes. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you.